Libet that many of you will know that shows for any sort of action that it takes, spontaneous action, like I just decided to raise my right hand spontaneously. Nobody else told me to do it. And that this has a precursor in the brain. So in other words, a second or a second and a half before I actually lifted my hand, there was a signal in my brain, in the prefrontal, the prefrontal part of my brain that got my brain ready to make this motion, that initiated all the actions that are necessary to actually finally raise my hand. And also the experimental evidence shows that this occurred before I was even aware that I wanted to do this. So of course that's the difficult part, right? Because the naive idea is first Christoph sits there, the real Christoph, sort of sits there above, floating above the waters of the brain and decides, okay, he's going to make a point and move his hand. Then this Christoph thing sort of perturbs the water of the brain, right? And then the brain decides to act out. But here the evidence shows no, even before I consciously decided to move my head, there was a precursor. Now in this case, you can say, well, the precursor was, I've been asked this question often before, so I know I have to demonstrate some sort of so-called free movement. So this is the question of, is my brain truly free to decide? The other thing we learned about the neuroscience or the psychology of free will is that there's actually discrete parts of my brain. We know where they are because we know that during surgery, when you stimulate these parts of the brain, people have the feeling, oh, I have this urge to move. They don't actually move, but for example, they may have an urge to roll their tongue, or they may have an urge to lift their left hand without actually moving it. So what it tells us that just like the sense of color, right? So I can be conscious of an intense pink. That's a discrete color. That's a discrete conscious experience, and there are parts of my brain that mediate that. Also, the discrete feeling of agency. I am my own agent. I raised my hand. So if you were to take my hand and pull it up, I wouldn't have this feeling of agency. I would have the feeling of ownership. I know it's my hand that gets pulled up, but I don't have the feeling that I initiated this. This sense of I initiating it is a conscious sensation, just like the conscious sensation of color, that is generated by a particular part of the brain. So that's the second, I think, deep insight generated by neuroscience over the last 20 years into the question of are we truly free to act?